signed up for your course last week, and so I'm trying to. So basically, I took a diagnostic before signing up, and I got a 161. So I'm trying to increase that to hopefully 170s. And I just want to see like how you recommend I approach the course, and like what resources you recommend that I do, because I've looked, I've started the 3 month study plan on your site, and I've started doing the first week of it. But I was just wondering if you have any other recommendations in terms of like how I should approach that, or other study techniques.
Yeah, absolutely, Jake. So, what's it been like for you so far going through the 3 month plan with the foundational material?
Well, I just started it. It seems helpful because definitely logic games is my weakest section right now. Like in terms of like when I took the diagnostic, it was my weakest section. So getting started on those, I think it's been really helpful. Just like to get a solid foundation for those so far.
Cool. Great. So, the fact that you're finding it helpful tells me that's the right place for you to be. If you want to go deeper on any particular types of logic games, check out the workshops section of the course, because that's where you'll find the full length classes going deeper, where we'll spend an entire hour going over a single logic game. The foundational section is giving you the bite-sized 101, but you want a 170 plus, you've got to understand everything and on the deepest levels as well. So check out the workshop section for the full classes, and also show up to the live classes as well. They're conducted via Zoom meetings. You can ask questions either in a chat, or you can actually speak and get on video and connect with the instructor and other students. Really get yourself immersed in the community. That's how you'll get the most out of it.
Awesome. Okay. So workshops, and then the live classes. And so the live classes happen like kind of like nightly, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So each night we'll cover a different topic. Mondays, there'll be reading comprehension. Then we'll have logic games. Then we'll have logical reasoning as well. All the entire schedule is listed on the sidebar in the workshop section. They're typically going to be in the evenings. And so it'll be Pacific. You got to adjust for Pacific time. We'll tell you Pacific time as well, but they'll be starting at 4, 5, or 6 p.m. Pacific. And they're all recorded, by the way. So if you ever miss one, you can always catch it later inside the workshop section. There's also study groups too. And so you can also show up to the study groups and work with other students as well.
Okay. Awesome. So you mentioned like definitely like in terms of like getting to the 170s, having to like go deeper than just the foundational materials. So I work full time. So like a lot of times, like I study like when I can, but sometimes like I don't have enough time to like go fully in depth. So do you think like 3 months is the appropriate time period under those circumstances to study, or whether I should kind of like anticipate lengthening it because I have kind of like other stuff going on?
Yeah, sure. So when you say you've got 3 months, that we're speaking now in March, so you're taking the LSAT, you're aiming to take it in June or July?
Yeah. So my initial plan was June, but now I'm thinking about maybe pushing it back to July or August. Just as long as, just as long as I kind of have it done by next fall, I think would be ideal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 3 months is a little short, but your diagnostic score is pretty good. I mean, I started in the low 150s. So for you, 161 is a better place to be. You don't have as far to go. But getting those top scores requires extra work. Every additional point becomes a bit tougher to fight for. So I would say 3 months, maybe you'll get it done. Maybe as you get closer, you'll find you'll need a bit more time. You could take it in August or September and still apply at the very beginning of the cycle and be totally fine. And so you might get a lot of additional return in terms of score increase by your willingness to devote an additional month or two. So just keep it as a possibility. You can still register for June or July, keep it in mind. But as it gets closer, if you find you're at a 168, 169, you really want to score in the 170s, I would say withdraw or postpone, or take it multiple times. Maybe you take it in July and you get lucky and score on the high end of your range. But why not give yourself another at-bat or two and see if you could get higher? There's no downside since law schools don't average multiple scores.
Okay, awesome. And then, so in terms of in terms of like practice tests, would you recommend like just going with the schedule? Because I saw there's some weeks where there's a practice test on the schedule, or would you recommend kind of adding like additional ones in like through the process?
Yeah, great question. So I do recommend, of course, doing a good number of practice tests because you want to get familiar with the pacing and endurance that you'll have to deal with on test day. The best way to add in more practice tests is when you end up, if you do end up lengthening your timeline. So if you were oriented around getting it done in 3 months, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to give it another month or two. Well, what do you do with that additional month or two? More practice tests, because you already have the foundation at that point. At that point, once you have the foundation, all you really need to do is work on your weak areas and then do additional practice tests. And you're working full time, and you anticipate working full time for the entire duration of your studying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like you're going to have 30 hours a week to study. You're going to have more likely 10, 15, maybe 20 if you push it. Does that sound like around what you've been doing?
Yeah. Well, I haven't really like developed a schedule yet, but yeah, I think that hopefully that's like around what I'll be able to carve out once I start like getting on a more consistent schedule.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most people, if they're working full time, I'll just paint a picture for you and let me know how this feels if it applies to your situation. You're working full time. Are you commuting or remote or a mix?
I'm hybrid, so
okay.
Some days I'm commuting, some days I'm not.
Cool. All right. So the days that you're not commuting, since you save time on the commuting, you could potentially devote that to more LSAT. So let's say roughly on average, you'll maybe do 10 hours a week, 10 hours during the week, like 2 hours per weekday, roughly. And then you could do another 5 to 8 on the weekend. I'm painting the ideal picture here. I know reality may look different, but 15 to 18 is possible with a hybrid work situation. If you end up doing 12, no big deal. You've got 3+ months to get this done. And then once you already finish up your foundation, it's really just, again, working on your weak areas and taking practice tests and reviewing. That's it. And so the nature of what you end up doing won't actually change that much related to the time that you put in. It'll just be, okay, I'm going to do either 2 exams a week or 1 exam a week. Not a big deal which one you do. It's important that you review in depth, though, either way. More is better, but only up to a point because you don't want to burn out.
Right. Okay, gotcha. And then, so I know you obviously got a very high score on LSAT, and I'm sure you've seen like a lot of people who went through your program that got high scores. So are there any like other like tips or like behaviors that you like commonly see out of like high scorers in terms of like how they're approaching studying or anything else like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest one is being relentless in looking to figure out exactly why you made a mistake. Because it will happen. These are tough questions. You will make mistakes. And rather than arguing with the answer key or arguing with the test makers, and rather than glossing over your mistakes and saying, oh, I get it now, if you actually say to yourself, okay, well, what specifically led me to get this question wrong? Why did I get it wrong? What was the entire process that led to me having some kind of misunderstanding or just being lost altogether? Figuring out the unique tricks and traps that you're prone to falling for, noting them, logging them, reviewing them so that you don't make the same mistake again. This is especially important in logical reasoning and reading comprehension, where you have these perceived ambiguities of language. In logic games, it more often is because you didn't catch a key inference or didn't fully understand a rule. And there's also things around maximizing your use of previous work, your hypothetical scenarios that you draw, so that you don't end up having to reinvent the wheel or approach the problem by brute force, meaning that you try out all 5 answer choices methodically, which is obviously not an efficient approach. They're not looking for you to just apply formulas. They're looking for you to actually figure out the hack that gets you there faster. And so we cover this in the course. You'll see it categorized by game type, which is helpful to orient you. But then there are tougher games that don't fit the mold and you have to adapt. And so it's a whole process. You'll get there. I'd say if you follow the schedule for now, you'll get gradually exposed to harder and harder logic games. Then we'll do the same thing for the other sections as well.
Okay.
And then once you really get into it, in the full length class recordings, you'll see the more detailed breakdowns. And if you have trouble finding any, just let me know, because I do demo it for each exam question type, how to go about it.
I see. Okay. Yeah. That's great. Awesome. So yeah, I think that gives me like a good like approach to go off of, and I'm gonna definitely like try to solidify a rigid schedule, and then do some of those workshops and then the live classes to kind of supplement the 3-month plan. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. So yeah, I just signed up last week, so I'm excited to be in the course.
Awesome, Jake. I'm excited to have you. If you have any questions or need anything, reach out. I'm here for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.